Okay. Hey everyone. Don't worry, you're not seeing double, we are twins. But if you're seeing 4 of us on stage right now, then there might be a little problem. My name's Swapna.
And I'm Sandhya.
Now, you, and you, in fact, all of us care about something. All of us have at some point thought, if only something were different. All of us have that if only that really matters to us. It's what makes us feel motivated, but it's also what gives us a special power, the power to make a difference in our world. Now you might be wondering, what difference can one voice make? Is it even possible to make my voice heard?
Well, we're here to tell you that the answer to that is yes. Think of that if only. That's something that you're passionate about. Imagine translating that idea into reality. Someone has to start that conversation, and someone has to start thinking, if only. Being that someone could mean making a small impact or changing a life, or even becoming an unintentional superhero for many people. And you can all be that superhero. So today we'll share our advocacy story and the science behind our issue, and we'll tell you how we decided to be that someone and how you can too.
Our If Only is about concussion. Now, how many of you have either had a concussion or know someone who has? Wow, that is quite a lot of you. It looks like a lot of you have your own concussion stories. This is how we became interested in concussion. It was 2010, a great year for hockey, and we love hockey. So we were really excited about Canada's really great performance in the 2010 Olympics on home soil. But it was also around this time that we started noticing a growing conversation about concussion, a whisper that got louder and louder as more people joined the discussion. Now, Paul Kariya, one of our favorite hockey players who played in the 2002 Olympics when Canada won its first gold in 50 years, wasn't on the 2010 team. In fact, he wasn't playing at all. He was taking the season off, dealing with post-concussion syndrome, where long-term symptoms were keeping him off the ice. At the end of that season and after it, he hung up his skates forever. Multiple concussions over the course of a career had taken its toll. And that was, disturbingly, just one of countless stories.
At that point, we didn't actually know a lot about concussions, but we sure started noticing it along with much of the general public. Then we started studying sport medicine, and with it, concussions, that word again. So what was the big deal? Well, through research and our courses, we learned just why this injury is such a big deal. It's different, and it can be really dangerous because it's so invisible. So it's hard to see if someone has a concussion, while it's easier to see if someone has a broken bone. And so these people don't always get the help that they need. It's dangerous because many concussions may lead to long-term effects that can make daily life difficult. And it's dangerous because not enough is being done about it.
So the brain is one of the most important organs in our bodies and is mind-bogglingly complex. It's what allows us to function the way that we do. The brain has neurons, which are specialized cells in the brain that help it to communicate with the body. The brain has specific sections that relate to specific functions. This is a side view of the brain. Take the occipital lobe at the back of the brain, for example. It's responsible for vision, and damage to it could impair that function. Another example would be the frontal lobe, which is involved in problem solving. These are just a couple examples of the many functions that the brain helps us to do.
So we wanted to bring some brains for you guys to look at, but since we still needed these ones, we kind of got these. But no need to get grossed out though. These aren't real brains, they're Jell-O brains, and they smell like strawberry. But they're a lot like an actual brain because they're soft and squishy and delicate like a real brain. And I'll have some of you just check it out. So you can see why it's so important to protect your brain because it's so delicate, yet so important to your ability to function. For example, can we get you all to tap your head 10 times really fast? Go on. Other than getting us all to look really silly, that was just a relatively simple example of an action that you might not be able to do if you had a brain injury where there was visible and obvious damage to the structure.
But what about a concussion?
Well, a concussion is also a brain injury, but even more invisible. And we can't really see structural damage even using most common imaging techniques. This injury can have physiological, cognitive, and psychological effects, and symptoms of concussions are not as obvious as well. So you'd be able to tap your head still, but you might not be able to get through a day without headaches or dizziness. This injury can be quite debilitating, but is more subtle to the observer. So concussions can happen in a wide variety of situations, from sports to a car accident, and can result from a direct hit to the head or an indirect hit, as you can see here. You might recognize this example.
Getting into position, the turn, get hit. Oh, yeah. Steckel got it. Wow. When you talk about blindside, didn't look back.
So that was a relatively high-profile example of Sidney Crosby, but this actually happens all the time to all kinds of people, including like all of you.
So now let's take a closer look at what's happening to the brain. Okay, so during a concussion, the impact deforms the brain inside the skull, as you see here. Ouch. So what you'll see next is what happens normally. Between healthy neurons, there is signal transfer or transmission of messages. After an impact, like a concussion, there can be damage to the neural pathways, which can result in impaired signal transfer. And this can also result in a wide range of possible symptoms. Each concussion is actually unique in the symptoms that actually do present and for the duration for which it lasts.
So concussions are rather common, with about 30,000 Canadian teens reporting concussions yearly. You might think that's a high number, but it actually likely underrepresents the true number because many people don't report or even realize that they've sustained one. Youth are particularly more susceptible to concussions and prolonged effects than adults.
We love hockey and we love sport. We really love playing and watching hockey because it's fun, it's exciting, and it's impactful. Concussions, on the other hand, are none of these things. Well, concussions are impactful, like this example. Just imagine what's happening to his brain inside his head.
So as you can see, concussions can be serious injuries, and we hear countless stories of people who suffer the injury but can't find the help that they need. So clearly, there is need for action on this issue. So we decided to take matters into our own hands, and this is our journey from lab to legislature.
So we wanted to create a solution that was as comprehensive as possible, but that also reached as many people as possible. And we were aware of policy as a means of making change, having already volunteered in politics. We decided that this would be a good solution to the problem that we saw, and so we ended up meeting with our Member of Parliament, Dr. Kirsty Duncan, to learn how to go about making this change. From research through policy writing, we actually ended up meeting with her once a week for an entire summer, going through countless revised copies of her proposed policy. She was a really wonderful and encouraging mentor.
So in developing this, we actually consulted with many people, including those who would be involved in implementation. So we met with researchers, healthcare practitioners, teachers, coaches, and Canadians who had firsthand experience with concussions. And while meeting these people, we actually did that while traveling to different places for conferences and meetings. So we've been doing that in all over Southern Ontario, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, and there's some of the photos up here, and even as far as Scotland. And we were able to share our story everywhere we went.
So our proposed legislation is called an Act Respecting a Comprehensive Pan-Canadian Strategy on Concussion. That's quite a mouthful. But what it's going to do is actually address concussion by implementing 3 essential components. 1, a Concussion Awareness Week. 2, a strategy to address concussion across the country for better awareness, better prevention, and management through education strategies, prevention programs, and resource development, including for mental health support. And 3, a Center of Excellence for Concussion Research. These 3 components are designed to help address concussions sustained in sport, but also in the workplace, on the road, and at home to better help protect Canadians of all ages, including youth.
So essentially, we translated current research and knowledge into an action plan that would address the gaps that we saw. Now we're continuing to collect support in the form of petitions to the government, mainly on lunch breaks between classes, as our proposed legislation continues through the process to be voted on in Parliament.
Throughout this ongoing process, we realized that even though every advocacy story may not be the same, there are some elements that make a common thread. We'll share these key steps with you now so that you can have an action plan to unleash your own advocacy superpower. So we'll do that in the form of an acronym, IGNITE. So I is for identify your if only. This is an idea that interests you, something you're passionate about. For example, if only X, Y, or Z change happened, such as if only there was a better recycling program in my neighborhood, or if only someone were to tackle child hunger in my area, or our if only, which was about concussion.
G is for gather knowledge. So now you can gather knowledge in the area that you're interested in. We did that by reading the literature, speaking with stakeholders, and conducting original research. This will help you to understand the area better, but also set you up for doing something about it.
As you learn more about your topic, you can actually find that you become even more passionate about it and how you can make a difference. It's been said that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And you've all probably heard that knowledge is power, and with great power comes great responsibility. That's right, in this way we are all Spider-Man. So your next step is to make a
needs-based solution for N. So now that you know all about your topic, it's time to design a solution to fill in the gaps. So consider the following. What are the gaps? What solutions do you think are possible? Who is it going to help? And what is it going to do exactly to ensure that these needs are met?
The next I is for interact. You're going to have to interact with stakeholders, form a core team of passionate people around you, and get feedback and other perspectives so that you can reevaluate the solution that you have accordingly. Make sure that you communicate with people who will be able to help you make this change.
How you disseminate your ideas depends on who you're talking to. So are you talking to the general public or your peers or decision makers, for example? Try to communicate with your audience in mind. T is for tools. So consider what tools you'll need to put your plan into action, your tools for success. Perhaps you'll use a petition like we did, or social media, for example.
And E is for engage, educate, and execute. You are now equipped with an amazing idea, so now it's time for you to engage and educate your target audience and execute your action plan. So you will have setbacks, so be prepared to use them to make your plan even stronger by changing what didn't work and moving forward. For us, it was with the petition. At first, the introduction that we used didn't work with everyone. For some people, it was too much detail. For others, not quite enough. So we kept at it and quite quickly found a happy balance. And now we have close to 3,000 signatures, and we're still going.
So now that you have these 6 steps in the acronym IGNITE, you can choose to use your superpower and ignite your idea and make a difference in the world.
What will your impact be?